Today, we're thrilled to welcome a true queen of dating advice.
Being okay scaring somebody off is really important. Like, if that had scared you off, good.
You wouldn't be the right person for me if you took me away from my dream, because that's something that's taking me away from myself. And she was like, I would never do that.
I came on board and made it even better. Best advice for dealing with no contact after a breakup.
Oh, it's so brutal, but you just gotta do it. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of dating apps. There's so many good things about them. That is a negative thing about them.
Welcome back to another episode of First Rounds on Me. Today, we're thrilled to welcome a true queen of dating advice, the incredible Ali Jackson. As the co-host of the wildly popular podcast, Finding Mr. Height, Ali has been a guiding force for listeners through the ups and downs of modern dating, offering advice that's equal parts insightful, honest, and empowering. Today, we'll be diving into Ali's best first date tips, how to prepare for a date, and what to do after the date to keep things right on track. Plus, we'll be talking successful relationship advice, navigating dating apps, and of course, play a few fun games, should I say, that will put her expert knowledge to the test. Ali, welcome to the show.
Hello. Can I use that intro for my whole life?
You may, and I shall clip it for you, and you may.
Please? I would love that. That was amazing. I'm so excited to be
tossed
here.
and turned between using these intros, but I think it just sets it up so nicely.
The guests like them a lot.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we brought them back.
I love it.
And Hannah's you're doing way better at it now.
Thank you. I used to
great.
stutter over my words so much. I can literally talk to a wall, but you put a camera on me and then tell me to speak. I'm like, oh,
too
So
far.
how are you doing,
Scripted.
Ellie? Welcome to the show. How's your day going?
I'm great. My day's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, I was saying to Hannah, I haven't done almost anything today, but I feel tired. So that's always how it is, right? Though, when you don't, I feel like the days that I'm going, I just never realize I'm doing it, and then I never feel tired. And today I've done nothing, and I'm tired. But here we are.
I feel the same this morning because we just got back from LA and it was cold and we're not used to the cold. And I was like, oh, I could just sleep in bed all day. I don't really want to do anything.
Yep, that's
But we had
basically
to.
what I did today.
we run a company. We absolutely have to. We have to do something throughout the day, otherwise nothing would get done. Darling, you're straight
I'm
up.
up first.
I know.
Dating tips. This is right on brand for you.
We're
Let's
going to
get into
dive
it.
straight into it.
Okay. In your opinion, what's a common mistake people make on a first date and how can they avoid it?
Can I back it up to a little bit before the first date?
100%.
Because I think that it rolls into the first date.
100%.
The most common mistake I think I see people make is building up a first date too much and either talking to the person too much at all, frankly, before the date, and building it up to be this thing that means a lot, when in reality it's just, for the most part, for dating apps, meeting a stranger, seeing if you get along, seeing if you might want to hang out again, and that's it. And I think that's the biggest mistake I think people are making.
I mean,
Preach.
I don't know if you stole that from our brains, but
Don't know if you looked at our website.
Research before the pod. No.
Fully aligned. I mean, we always say, just treat a first date as fun to get to know somebody new. And I think you're 100% right. People tell their parents, they tell their best friends, this is the one. Well, how do you know? Oh, I talked to him for a week. He's so funny. This is going to be it.
Yeah, I use this analogy a lot where, when you read a book and then you see the movie that's based on that book and you don't like the movie because it's not the way you imagine the characters to be. They don't sound the way you thought. They don't look the way you thought. Other people like the movie, but you're like, no, fuck that movie. Can I curse?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Oh,
Okay. Other people like the movie, but you're like, absolutely not. It's because you built something up in your head that isn't what it turned out to be. And I think that's what happens when you talk to somebody too much before a first date and you build this vision of them up. They might be great, but they're not the thing you imagined. And now you're disappointed.
Oh, couldn't agree
Yeah,
more.
and I think as a guy, we're really bad at this. Where we'll see someone who's aesthetically we're very attracted to them, and then we think, oh man, I wish I was with this person. They're so perfect. Little do they know, if they have a conversation with that person, it could be like talking to a wall, and they're literally going to be so turned off.
Yeah.
But they just think, oh, however they look, they're going to be exactly that way inside, and that's what I want. But that's not life.
It doesn't work that way.
Or on the other opposite end of the spectrum is sometimes people go into dating and they're like, I want a man who's 6'5", who has this, who does this, blah blah blah, and they might meet someone on a dating app and they might match all of those those things, that checklist, and then they go into that and be like, this is the most incompatible person for me ever.
Absolutely.
So
It's going to
interesting.
be a good segue for Allie too, because her podcast is Finding Mr. Height. So when we get into that, I want to figure out if he's actually a Mr. Height.
All right.
Okay, so first dates can be nerve-wracking. What's your tip for calming the pre-date jitters and showing up as your confident self?
I think reminding yourself that it really doesn't matter. That this is somebody usually that you don't even know. And even if you've met them before, you barely know them. 5 days ago, let's say, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, you had no idea this person existed on the planet. So if you don't want to see them again, it doesn't matter. Your life is going to be completely unaffected. And I think when we think about nerves and the reason that we get nervous, it's because we're unsure about the outcome of something that matters. If you don't care about the outcome of something, you're not nervous for it. It doesn't matter.
I love that.
So true.
Yeah, and I also feel like we don't realize how nobody else thinks about our lives the way that we do.
No, absolutely
where
not. No one cares.
We sometimes think that we're on like this national channel that if our date fails or if it doesn't
We're on the
work
Truman
out,
Show.
like everybody's gonna ask you what happened on that date. Why didn't it work out? It's like everybody's so busy with their own lives, they don't really care what happens on your first date. So you should probably do the same.
And also, I think if you are finding that it's hard for you to hear the follow-up, maybe your family's asking, maybe your friends are asking, maybe you don't talk to them about your dating life anymore. Maybe
Fair.
when you have a first date coming up, you don't tell anyone. I told the world when I was dating, so I'm not taking my own advice. But if you're finding that issue, that could be a solution for you.
Totally agree. Do you think it's important to have a plan going to the first date, or should people be more spontaneous and see where it goes?
I like to have a plan that has a defined end that you can adjust. Like, plan but be flexible, if that makes sense. So like I don't like to go into a date where there's not going to be an easy place for us to say like, okay, this is where we're going to end things. But I also wouldn't want to be so rigid that's like, okay, I said I was going to be on this date for 45 minutes and it's been 46 minutes and we got to go. Like, that's not going to get you anywhere good.
But what about if you take that a step deeper? What if people are aligned? Because we always talk about intention, right? But intention could mean anything. It can mean you just want to hook up with somebody.
Yeah.
How do you manage knowing like I'm actually looking for a relationship and that's okay and I'm going to let this person know? When should you let them know, and how do you play that?
I like to ask on a date in person, because on a dating app anybody can select anything they want.
And they're always lying, full of shit. Every guy's gonna say I'm looking to get married, and
or what they're saying doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to everyone, right? Like somebody can put whatever they want. It's easy to select something in a drop down. It's also really easy to respond on a dating app via text in a way that you think the other person wants to hear.
Yes.
So I usually wait. I'm not gonna, if somebody selected that they're just looking for hookups, believe them. Like that, that's
You're not going to change them.
Yeah, that's very clear. But if somebody selects relationship, okay, we'll see. That doesn't mean they want one with me, first of all. And we're also going to wait to get in person. So I, first of all, wait to get in person. And I like to ask about ideal outcomes of dating. Because I think it's really easy to get a little too intense about what do you want here with us. And it's like, we're on a first date. I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know you. But what does your ideal outcome of dating look like right now? Like, ideally, what would you want? And if that answer does not align with your ideal answer, I think that tells you a lot.
that is beautifully put. And I also think it takes the right person to get these questions out of you, you know, because before I met Hannah, if a woman asked me, you know, do you want kids on a first date, I'd probably be like, oh, wow, this is a bit much.
That's a lot, yeah.
But when we had our first date, it was so free flowing, where she was like, you know, what's your plan in life? Like, what do you believe? Not in a sense of like politics or religion, but like, how do you see life?
Yeah.
Like, what do you care about?
But I think it's because I framed it in that way. I wasn't like, do you want to get married and have children with me? I was like, how do you see life? Like, what do you envision for your future? Is there a world in which that you want children and want to get married? Or are you so heavily focused on this app that that's all you're going to be focusing on? Like, I'm just curious because I'm in my early 30s and I'm coming to a place where like, I don't want to kind of fuck around. I'm more than okay. Like, if that's what you want to do, but that's not what I want to do.
Well, I think being okay scaring somebody off is really important. Like, if that had scared you off, good.
Yeah, I'm not the right person.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to waste more time with me? And also, like, I think that's the thing. Not only what women do a really great job of, but people should do a better job overall, is be intentional about, like, what you actually want. It's not bad, 'cause to your point. If you're on a first date and you say, like, hey, I'm 33 years old, I'm looking to get married soon. It's like, great. Now you know instantly if this guy's in or he's out, or vice versa, if this woman's in or out.
Yeah, and I think it is really important to frame it in those ideal outcomes, because it's not about, like you said, Hannah, it's not about, do you want to get married to me?
Yeah.
Could you see yourself marrying me? They're like, I don't know.
Right. It's like, I have to figure this out right now.
We just met. Like, what? So, like, just talking about, I like the way you phrased, how do you see your life? What do you hope your life looks like in 5 years?
Yeah. I think it takes off a lot of pressure, but it also shows like these are things that I'm thinking about, and I hope that you're thinking about it too.
Yeah.
I love that.
You got any more?
No, I know. I got a lot. Okay, so one thing for me in particular is like, we created this app where we want people to meet pretty quickly and, it's built for New Yorkers, but I really want women to feel safe. So this is more of a question of what you do and what you think people should do. But when it comes to researching the date beforehand for safety and for just like we said earlier,
curiosity,
getting to know too much about them before the date, what's the plan? Or do you think people should just go in a little bit of research, do a little social media, or just totally blind?
I personally did not like to research people. Let me be super clear that it is important to be very safe and meet in a public place and have a designed endpoint. That's one of the reasons I like a designed endpoint. So it's like, we're going for drinks. Okay. We're going for coffee. Once you're done with that beverage, easy endpoint if you want. But I think that when you go down the rabbit hole of researching someone, sure, could you come across something that would make you say, oh, you know what, that's a deal breaker? Yes. Also, though, you could end up learning way too much about this person, where now you're either building up expectations about them or maybe something that wouldn't have been a deal breaker if you had met them before. Now you're like, oh, I don't even know if I want to go out with him because of XYZ thing. They could have been totally fine because you've met him already.
Yeah, and I think that feeds into the whole thing about people finding out. And that's why when you wait too long to meet somebody, just as human beings naturally do, we find a reason to not do something.
Right.
We're just geared that way. And yeah, I think it's easier for a guy, but I totally agree. Like, you just don't know what you're going to feel when you meet somebody. And you could probably get over anything, bar it be something like super serious, like, hey, I'm really serious about this religion. If you're not this religion, it's not going to work out. That's fine. But other than that, like, you could probably work around a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I don't blame anyone if they do, especially women, for safety purposes.
Oh, yeah.
If you do want to research someone, and I 1000% I understand why. I just didn't personally for me. I, chose to share what I was doing with people and be in a public place and then look things up after if I even want to see him again. I might not even like this guy. It might not even matter what his history is.
Yeah.
There was I don't know who we were associated with, but this girl told her mom that she was meeting this guy. So as mothers do, like, I know my mom would probably do this, researched him, and she was on the date, and she called the daughter and was like, get out of the date. He's lying to you. I just looked him up. And she's like, Mom, what are you talking about? And she's like, you said that he was in finance. He's a firefighter. He's lying to you. So she went home and like, she had a great date. She goes home and she's like, Mom, what were you doing? She's like, look, he's a firefighter. And she's like, Mom, you misspelled his name. That's totally inaccurate. Like, stop researching my dates before I go on, because you're really messing me up.
Oh God.
That goes back to what you were saying earlier. There's like, perhaps not tell your family if they're going to get super involved or like amp up those nerves or amp up like the suspicion in people. Maybe we'll just wait for a couple of dates to tell them any information.
Absolutely. And I don't mean to discount the safety aspect of looking people up beforehand, because I do think that is a very real thing, and I understand why people want to do it. It's just, it's what works for you, I think.
Well, that's why I'm such an advocate of meeting people in public places for a drink for a short amount of time.
1000%.
And I think that kind of alleviates a lot. I mean, as women, we're never 100% safe, which is a really sad thing to say. And I'm the same as you, never want to discount that. But also at the same time, if you come from a fear-based perspective always about like constantly researching something and then ingesting all of that information, more oftentimes than not, I feel like you're going to create more fear surrounding it because you're going to find something that you don't like.
Yeah, and I think more often than not, I think the thing that you're going to find is not going to be something that is an actual hard stop deal breaker, but it could be like, I don't know, maybe he's divorced. So for example, my boyfriend is divorced. If I knew that, and if I'd met him on an app, which I didn't, but if I'd met him on an app and I had looked that up and I had seen that he was divorced pretty recently, I might have had I probably would have had a very different frame of mind going into things than meeting him organically, not knowing that and allowing him to tell me that and hearing that story from him. All right, and doing my own research afterwards.
You want to ask the question?
Oh yeah, the meet cute. I love the meet cute. First off, is he tall?
He's a little taller than me.
Okay, so he's tall.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm, for reference for listeners, I'm 6 feet tall. Almost 5'11" 3/4, but we'll round up. The men do, so I will. And so the name of my Instagram account and Erica's and my podcast is Finding Mr. Height, because we're both tall. Not necessarily what the guys. But yeah, he's a little bit taller than me, but we met in person.
Tell us how.
How and where?
So I've been on dating apps for a very long time. Since I met my first boyfriend on a website called eCrush in like 2001.
Didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, so like I've been in the online dating game for like quite a long time, off and on single. feel like people are either off and on, like mostly in relationships or mostly single. Like those are the two types of people. I'm a mostly single person. I've been mostly single my adult life. So I was burnt out. I think a lot of people are. And in August of last year, over a year ago now, I made a commitment to go to more in-person stuff. I was like,
I saw you doing that.
Yeah, I was like, I'm burnt out by dating apps. I'm still going to be on them. I didn't want to take a dating app break, although people do and they love it. But I want to do other stuff to make dating apps feel better. And so I made a commitment to go to 2 things a month. Didn't have to be a singles event, but it had to be a thing where people were going to be there, mostly that I didn't know. So it couldn't be like a friend's birthday. Like it had to be something where I maybe knew one person, maybe a couple people, but mostly no one. And so I was doing that. I was doing it twice a month, and then I was doing it 3 times a month. I'm like, this is kind of fun. I'm just like, I'm going to go to more stuff. And I was posting about it, and like, it was really fun. And then fast forward to April. So it took 6 months, but it worked eventually. A friend, because I had been going to those things, I started to get invited to more because it snowballs, right? Like you go to one thing and then someone's like, oh, Allie's a person who likes to go to stuff. The next time I hear about an event, I'm going to invite her because she likes to go to stuff. So a friend of a friend was throwing something, not a singles event, just a random party. And I went. And another friend who I had no idea knew the first person was there. Walked up to him and his group, and my now boyfriend was in that group.
Wow. Did you notice him right away?
No. Well, kind of. So we were all talking. It turns out I had met him the week before at an event that I had thrown. But because I was throwing that event, I wasn't really paying attention to who I was meeting. I guess I yelled at him. Whatever. That's a whole other side story. So it was a beer Olympics.
Oh, cool.
That sounds like so much fun.
It was so fun. But I run it with my volleyball team. And so we are sober and everybody else is playing a beer Olympics. So you can imagine how annoying they all are. So I had yelled at him for something. He remembered me. So he like came up to me and was like, oh, I was at that. And then we ended up talking. And eventually, all of a sudden, we all went to a different bar. And all of a sudden, I noticed that no one else was there anymore. And it was just us. And I was like, oh, we're by ourselves. And he was like, yeah, we've been by ourselves for over an hour.
So you guys were in deep conversation. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
Now, in that deep conversation, was it starting to be flirtatious where there was interest, or was it just...
Originally, no. I actually originally thought he was gay because I thought, not because of anything about him, but because my friend that was in his group had told me that he had friends visiting from town that were married, 2 men who were married from San Francisco. And my now boyfriend said that he was from San Francisco. So I thought he was the guy that my friend had been talking about. So I'm thinking I'm like meeting my new gay bestie.
That's also, I mean, great tip for guys. If you pretend you're gay, the woman's going to feel a little bit more
never
open.
Lie to begin
with.
No,
just
lie.
Like maybe have a friend hint it in so that it's a lot more free
Still lying, Joe.
I want to be clear, this is not my
Horrible
advice.
Joe's advice.
Horrible
this is
advice.
Joe's advice.
I want to be so clear, this is not my official advice. But it just so happened I was like confused because I thought he was someone else or whatever. And so we were talking, and then it grew flirtatious. And then he was talking about his ex, and then he said she. And I was like, huh? And he was like, yeah, I was waiting for you to figure that out. Like, oh,
that's amazing.
Are we flirting? He was like, yes.
Oh my God, incredible. So you've been together for?
A little over 6 months.
How's it feel?
Amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think kind of makes the most successful building blocks for a successful relationship?
We have just been open and transparent from the beginning in a way. And my guard was down for other reasons too when I first met him, but he just made me feel immediately so comfortable. And I think both of us have been really open about where we're at and what we're looking for. He was not looking for a relationship. He's very recently divorced. But he was like, I wasn't looking for anything. I literally just moved here, but I also really like what's happening here. And I think I would be an idiot to not see what this is. And we continue to have conversations about it. And we were both just so open. And I think that, and I was really open. I'm like, I am looking for a relationship. And if that's not where you're at, that's totally cool. But I'm going to have to go because.
You got to let me know now because I'm not going to waste time on this.
Like, I can't deal with that. And then we were dating for maybe a month, not exclusive or anything, like going on dates. And we've been on like 3 or 4 dates. And then he went out of town previously planned for 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so in my head, I was like, this is going to be the make or break. Like, either we're going to talk all the time and we're going to continue to build our connection, or we're never going to speak again. Like, there's going to be no in between. And we talked all the time and continued to build. And became boyfriend, girlfriend the day he got back.
Oh, that's amazing.
But he has told me since that he was taking that time where he was like, when I get back, we are either broken up or official. He's like, I can't fuck around with her.
How did you treat the time away? Like, it could be difficult, right? Because maybe you have feelings for somebody, you really like them, and it's new, and you do want to talk to them all the time, but you also, not that you want to communicate too much, but how did you kind of just let it play out naturally?
So I asked him before he left if he would be down to FaceTime while he was gone. And so we did some FaceTime dates, and then we're texting in between, and I tried to keep it not all the time. And I also made a like pretty significant point to not get into anything deep over text message, because I'm like, I don't want to have this like false sense of intimacy of somebody that I've only been on 3 dates with, but we'll do that on the phone. And we ended up FaceTiming a lot and talking on the phone a lot. And like, that's where our connection really deepened. And I just didn't really want to date anybody else. So I didn't, but we never talked about it. And he was like doing a lot. I knew he wasn't dating. And then he got back and yeah, we made it official.
That's awesome.
So how does he feel about your work, your content, and the fact that he's out there, but obviously his name is not shown, his face is not shown, but like, how does he feel about the entire
realm? So far keeping to myself. He gets emojis over his face on my Instagram right now.
I'm always like,
I'll add you to my close friends. I put him on my close friends.
Thanks, babe.
He loves it. He's been so supportive from day one. I think a helpful piece is he already knew about it, because I think when I was coming to the event, I forget, or maybe at the Beer Olympics or something, our mutual friend had mentioned my like dating platform. He already knew that I had it. And so I told him about it in my own words, but it wasn't like shocking information to him. Like, he already knew. And I talked about why I do it and why it's important to me, why I want to continue to do it, but also the boundaries that I have in place of his privacy and what he feels comfortable with. And it just was pretty seamless in that way. And I know so many people told me when I was dating and I have this podcast and this account, like, it's going to be so much harder for you to find someone who is down for this. I'm like, you're right, but the right person will be. And I just was so confident. Not all the time. I had my moments, but I just, in my heart of hearts, I knew that my person, the person who was right for me, would understand and be so into it the way that I am.
And doesn't make it like it's worth the wait. Where
I literally said that to him yesterday.
No, really, it's true.
Yeah. We had a very love bubble weekend. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
What's a love bubble
Well, we
weekend?
don't have them that often because we run a fucking company together and we travel all around the country. And so, but a love bubble weekend is like where you just, like, remember how I used to talk to you about sexy Sundays?
Oh, yeah.
That's basically the entire weekend.
And I used to tell you, if you want date a surfer.
Yeah, sexy isn't like sexy, like implied that way. It's just more like lazy, sexy Sundays.
Yeah, we had like and it's just like you're feeling really connected and you're like sappy and like we had a love bubble weekend. So I'll call it.
That's so much for you.
And I literally said to him yesterday, you were worth the wait.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Same thing for you. I mean, the right woman would have been okay with the guy they met running a dating app and being around single people all the time. And if they weren't, then I personally would just be like, you're great, but this is what I want to do. This is my life.
Yeah. And like, you don't understand what I'm doing, and that's okay, but this is so important to me. And
I always told Hannah, and she was always on board with it. I was like, the only way that you wouldn't be the right person for me is if you took me away from my dream, because that's something that's taking me away from myself. And she was like, I would never do that. And
I did you one better, mate. I came on board and made it even
yeah,
better.
you were like, got it.
I was like, gotcha, let's go. And then we just literally have poured our heart, soul, sweat, blood, and tears into it every single day since then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
look where we
just
are now.
gets it. And he understands why. And we've talked about, like I said, we've talked about boundaries. Like, that's super important. Obviously, I'm talking very deep personal things about me. And I want to make sure I'm respectful of what he's comfortable with. But these days, we don't even talk about it at all, because I just know. I know what he's going to be cool with me sharing and what he's not.
That's communication for you, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into some like love and dating and relationship advice, because you literally are the queen of advice. And I think the tagline for Finding Mr. Height is positive and practical advice from the dating trenches to help you take control of your dating life. So I wanted to pull some of the questions that you have answered both from the podcast and from your socials and see if the answers still kind of align.
Yeah.
All right. Does an age gap really matter in a relationship?
No is my general answer, but there are some major exceptions.
Yes.
If there are power dynamics at play, then everything I'm about to say goes out the window. So like if we're talking about like a 19-year-old girl, literal teenager with like a 40-year-old man, then absolutely yes, that matters because power dynamics are a thing, and that's fucked up. Generally speaking, though, I think what matters more than age is where you're at in life and what you want out of your life. So like similar things as what you guys talked about on your first date. Like, what do you see for your life? Where are you at right now? What are your goals? What do you want to be doing? What does a Saturday look like for you? I think those things matter more than how old you are.
Agreed. Best advice for dealing with no contact after a breakup?
Oh, it's so brutal, but you just gotta do it. You gotta do
Agreed.
it. And I think have a point person. And this could be a friend, this could be your mom, this could be your sister, whoever. A point person that when you're thinking about texting that person or calling that person, you're texting this other person instead. And they know they're the point person, but they're not bringing up that other guy. So like, let's say that we're no contact and Joe and Hannah, you're my point person. So I'm like, I'm going to text you if I'm feeling like texting him, but we're not going to talk about him. You're just going to know.
I'm just going to intuitively
You're just
know.
going to know that a text from Allie means we are running interference.
Oh, I love that. See, I
such
thought
a
it
good
was
thing.
different. I thought you'd call the point person to talk about. Oh,
Because I think we talk in circles too much
Yeah.
after a breakup. Don't get me wrong. Processing is important. Let's use therapy for that if we can.
Yep.
Processing is important. But I think we can over-process sometimes in a breakup. And our friends, although they want to be helpful, when they're trying to shit talk him and be like, fuck him, he's not right for you. But really all we're doing is keeping our mind on that person.
Yeah.
wow. I never thought about it that way because I thought that I had been the point person, but they were just talking about the main person the whole time. So
Well, you are the point person, but
just not in the
they're
same.
not. Yeah, I just recommend not like having that distraction, but it needs to be a distraction.
Yeah.
Because if we're now just talking about you, that is just only marginally better than talking to you.
Yeah.
That's so true. You see, queen of dating advice. This is why. Who pays for the first date?
I don't care.
Genuinely.
Genuinely don't care.
Okay, let's play hypothetical. And I want you to be as honest as you can be.
Absolutely. Always.
Okay. You and your current boyfriend go on a first date. Maybe it's a bad example because you already have strong feelings for him, but he pays. And he's just like, hey, Ellie, tell me, like, I just really value this time. And you're like, okay, cool.
Great.
Or he says, hey, do you mind splitting this with me? Same exact reaction, or it's okay either way?
I don't care either way.
Wow, okay.
I think it is lovely when somebody wants to treat. I think especially if you've planned a date, no matter gender, sexuality, no matter anything, if you've planned a date, I think it is lovely to treat the person that you're going on that date with. So I'm going to have a good reaction to it. I think it's lovely. But I don't see splitting negatively.
Okay.
And this is something I think is really important. If you're going to offer to split, you better be happy doing it. If you don't want to split, don't you dare offer.
Yeah, it's funny. We see a lot of people, and this is funny because actually as the guy, I would always be excited if the woman offered, but I would never like make them go through with it. But a lot of the women would be like, yeah, I would offer, but I'd actually, if you said yes, I'd just walk away and be like, oh, okay.
Which that's a test, and I hate a test.
Yeah.
I really hate a test.
You
If
would have paid half.
I would have, yeah. But I'm kind of this. I mean, it's different culture in Australia.
Oh, yeah?
When I was growing up and kind of like in the very minute dating days that I had there, it's just kind of like whoever asks whoever on the date pays, or you split it, and it's not an indication of interest. It's more so just like, do you have your wallet on you? Okay, sweet, here you go. Like it's just as simplistic as that. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, I was like, do you want to pay? And you're like, no, and I was like, okay, but I did do the whole reach thing, like.
And I just think if you're going to test somebody that way, just don't do it.
Yeah.
If you are looking to date somebody who wants to pay for you in early dating or whenever, then that's fine. Own that.
Yeah.
Rather than testing them on it. I think it's
Yeah,
She
the
really
whole
is the queen of dating.
I
advice.
told you. I
But
told you.
she says things in a way
That's very digestible.
it's digestible, and it's like, oh yeah, we should just do it that way.
Oh yeah,
thanks.
Like, just do that.
Oh yeah.
It's also easy. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Last one for this one. Wait a second.
I've got great,
Do you
I've
know
got
that
great
one?
advice on
Do you know that one?
Yeah,
I knew
yeah.
that you would know. Wait, what? Okay. Best advice to shut up. Best advice to not take rejection in dating so personally.
I would think about the times that you have not been interested in someone. And the fact that you didn't think, usually, oh my God, they're a horrible person. And I can't believe that they ever thought they would have a chance with me. No, you're just like, oh, I'm not interested in going out with them again or at all. But you didn't take it, hopefully, as like a judgment and indictment on their character. Same thing is true in reverse. Somebody doesn't want to go out with you again. They are not thinking you're a bad person or a horrible prospect. They're just not interested in dating. That's fine.
I think it's all
Clip it
maturity
right
too. Like in my younger days in New York when I was single, I would be scared to turn somebody down. Then that's why I would ghost them. Not because I wanted to ghost them, but because I was scared of, what kind of can of worms is this going to open
Having
up?
a hard
disappointment.
conversation.
When in reality,
Yeah.
they would probably be like, okay, cool.
Thank you for letting
Which
me know.
is mature and makes you look even better.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can also think about it from that perspective. They were honest. And thinking about your reaction in those moments, I think, is really important too, because not that it's like, oh my God, you did so great, you were honest with me, but you do want to give positive reinforcement for people showing direct and honest communication. So I think reactions to that kind of thing are really important.
Yeah. And like you said, reverse the roles. If somebody ghosted me, I'd probably be really upset thinking, what did I do wrong? And trying to keep reaching out to them to get a response. Whereas if they said, hey, Joe, like, I had a great time, but you're just not my person, I'd be butthurt, obviously, but probably get over it way quicker and be like, man, that person's mature. I have to be more mature.
Yeah, I mean, and I do think let it sting a little, because that's okay, right? Like, I think trying to make yourself not feel upset about something that is objectively a little upsetting is a way to be more upset.
Yeah.
Like, let it sting a little bit. That's fine.
Yeah.
You had a couple of questions about dating apps, and then we're going to get into the games.
Yes. Okay. So we did some research.
Oh, okay.
A lot of numbers here. Okay. So over 300 million people globally use dating apps. In the US, about 30 to 40% of adults have used an app or site at some point. And about 20 to 30% of dating app users report forming long-term relationships or marriage through these platforms. What's the question?
It's in there. Continue to read.
Okay. Are you sure?
I don't know.
Okay, next one. Are you sure there's questions here?
Can you just pass it to me? Because sometimes you
just don't deserve the card.
sometimes you really
I
don't.
read the whole first bullet.
Oh, yeah, you did too. I can't expect it to do it all, Joe.
You're
Come
the
on.
producer of the show.
Okay, users spend 10 to 90 minutes per day on dating apps. This is what the research shows. The most popular dating apps like Tinder see a higher usage, with people logging on like 11 times per day, spending roughly 7 to 9 minutes per session. With dating apps making it so easy to compare potential matches, do you think this has made people more judgmental or selective in ways that they wouldn't be in real life?
I do. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of dating apps. I think they allow you to meet people that you would never meet otherwise.
Agreed.
They open up the world literally to you if you want. There's so many good things about them. That is a negative thing about them. There's so much research about the paradox of choice, so meaning that if somebody has more choices, they are ultimately, research shows, less satisfied with the choice that they make than if they had fewer choices. They do it in like supermarkets with like, there's like a study about jelly.
They're literally
So-
calling it shopping for love. Like that's the paradox of choice is kind of like morphing into this like shopping for love situation. It's
Yeah.
wild.
So that is definitely true. It is definitely true that the idea that there could be somebody better if I just keep swiping is making people, I think, maybe not judgier, but I think less certain. They're less likely to commit in many cases because there's the opportunity to find something better. Like, I do think that's true. And I think dating apps are a great tool. I think both things can be true.
Did you see the study? I don't know if Erica Etten told us this, but throughout the course of your adult life, usually you meet an average of 11 people. And
Yeah, what's that?
once you get towards person 4, 5, and 6, that's usually like 1, 2, and 3, you're figuring out who you like and you know who you are.
Yeah, I've heard this.
When you meet 4, 5, and 6, it's probably the best time in your life to meet somebody. And then when you have all these options, once you get past 6 and you get all the way to 11, you then look back and go, wow,
6.
not that I've ran out of people, but no one's as good as 4, 5, and 6, and I've kind of missed the boat.
It was Dr. Kaushik Ram who told us that, and he was a psychologist. He was a neuroscientist.
No, it was the Harvard guy. Now that you mention it, before you, but
Yeah, there's something about how like once you hit that point, the next person who is as good as that, that's who you should pick. Like that's like what I recall that
yeah,
study to be.
that makes sense.
So, and I do think it's like as you keep going, and then what makes it even shittier is that then you're like, well, now I've waited for 11 people. I might as well keep waiting. And then it gets worse, and then it gets worse. And then you're like, well, now I'm this age or now, and you get in your head about it even more.
100%.
Horrible. Many users complain about people misrepresenting themselves on dating apps, either through outdated photos or exaggerated bios. What advice would you give to someone to handle situations where the person they meet doesn't match their online persona?
There are levels here, right? Like I have met very few people who have been straight up catfished.
Really?
Very few. And by that, when I think in order to be a real catfish, you have to be like a whole different person.
Yeah, like a whole ass different person.
A whole ass different person. Like you're not exaggerating your height by 2 inches. You're not using photos that were 5 to 10 years ago. You're a straight up different person. That is super rare.
I agree. And I used to get that question a lot about, what happens if you catfish somebody on a first date and you guys push them to meet right away? And I didn't have the data, but I thought, man, for somebody to actually catfish somebody, that would be super awkward. And I can't see that happening. I mean, it probably happens.
It does happen, but it is rare.
Yeah, it has to be rare.
The more common thing is the exaggeration. They're shorter than advertised, or their pictures are old, or maybe they exaggerated something in their bio, or they lied about something. Again, there are levels. This isn't a one-size-fits-all answer, but you could just not go out with them again, is my advice.
Yeah.
Like, if you show up to the date and you don't like the person sitting across from you, for whatever reason, whether it's because they're different than you thought they would be or something totally different, you just don't go out again.
Do we also kind of have to, like, in this modern dating age and the fact that, like, social media and dating apps are almost kind of, like, synonymous with each other, do we have to almost accept the fact that people are going to embellish a little bit?
I mean, you're trying to portray yourself in the best light
but
possible,
you're putting your best foot forward. Like, so do we always kind of have to take everybody's profile with a little bit of grain of salt?
Maybe, but I think, like, even if you're not doing that, and even if somebody has wildly exaggerated something, again, there's a spectrum. But like, just don't go out with them again. You're not into them for whatever reason. We just don't go out again. And I don't really think you need to like call them out on it.
I love
you can
that.
if you want to, but
I mean, it's kind of fun sometimes, depending. Last question for this, and then we'll get into some games. But as you know, one of the features on our app is like we help you set up a date, right? So we help people get away from the whole small talk. We think it's an incredible
get on the
invention.
date.
Exactly.
Get on the date. Don't talk to them too long.
Part of that is picking a drink, a time, and a place. In New York, what is the most ideal drink, time, and place for a date?
Oh,
I know.
I like a weeknight.
Okay.
I just think, first of all, I think it helps with the time that you need to leave, because most of us are going to have to be up at some sort of reasonable time in the weekday. So I think that helps. So I like a weeknight. Time, I would say probably 8.
Ooh.
The reason I'm saying 8 is because I want it to be very clear that we are not eating. Like, I think if we're meeting up at 7, now I'm like, am I eating dinner at 5:30? Because I have to leave at 6:15 to get there. Like, that's too early, just for me personally. So I would want it to be very clear. This is a drink. This is not dinner time. And some people eat at 8, but I do not. So I want it to be late enough. And then what kind of drink? Two routes. I would either go like very casual. I love beer, as evidenced by the I'm drinking an IPA as we speak. So I loved like a beer hall or something like that that's really casual and also is going to have enough space. So I think that like that's something to think about. If you're out there planning dates, you're probably not going to make a reservation for just drinks. So think about where you're planning it in terms of where it's going to be easy to definitely get seats, because nobody wants that awkward like, oh, there's no seats here, should we try there, and you're with a stranger. Like, that's just, you know,
absolutely
You
not.
touched on so many
scenario.
things too. Like, people ask us, you can't reserve a date on First Rounds on Me, and I say, yeah, because reserving is more for dinner.
Yes.
And I don't want people to go to dinner, and I want to ask you, because again, I built the app in New York. Why? Like, I don't want to go to dinner on the first day, especially as a guy, because I would usually pay and it was very expensive. Why is it better to go for drinks on a first date? Because I totally agree.
I think the time, if you don't want to go on a second date with this person, the time that you are going to spend on this first date is going to be so much longer if you are having dinner for both of you, right? Like, you're both now wasting your time because one of you at least knows that you don't want to go out again. And so the amount of time you're going to spend in a dinner is just way longer than if you have one drink, even 2, and decide you want to leave. That's the number one reason. And I also just think that it is more casual. So I am a huge proponent of sitting next to somebody on a first date. All dates, frankly. I get really annoyed when my boyfriend and I have to sit across from each other. I don't like him being that far away. But it's so much easier to build connection with someone when you're side by side. There's a lot of research on that. And I prefer doing that. And so I think that that's just much easier to do when you're getting drinks versus dinner. That's a smaller reason, though. It's more about the time.
And I also love the casualness of drinks on a first date, too, because even if you have to reserve drinks at, a really nice hotel bar, a really nice bar, it's so formal and so much pressure on the first date. Just go to the local beer garden, get a beer with somebody, and enjoy their conversation.
Listen, if you're having a good time and you're hungry, order food. Like, no one's saying you're not allowed to eat.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Ellie, you are.
All right, we're ready to play some games. This is my favorite part of the podcast. I love
excited.
games. All right. Okay. So for this first game, we had this on this, like a segment ages and ages ago on one podcast, but I wanted to bring it back because you are the queen of dating advice. And you know all of the things. And so I figured to myself, I'd see if you could decode some of these dating terms. I'm going to start off with a softball.
Okay.
Some of them are very obscure. And then some of them I actually came up with recently by myself for a Halloween themed blog. So we'll see.
Love.
Put your knowledge to the test, all
Okay,
right?
here we go.
What does benching mean?
I think it means that they're still in your active roster, which is a term that I hate, but it's still somebody that you're like maybe considering dating, but they're like on the back burner right now.
That's basically when someone doesn't want to date you right now, but that doesn't want to lose you either. So they bench you, keeping you in the reserve while they explore other options.
Yeah.
What does sneating mean?
Huh?
Yeah, I know.
Can you spell this for me?
SNEATING. Sneating.
Okay, I don't know, just to be clear, but
I don't know either.
Yeah, but I'm gonna guess that it is involved. That cheating. It's a play on cheating.
It's not.
Am I right? No. Okay.
Sneaking.
And then when I saw this, I was like, what the fuck?
Sneaking.
I have no idea. Is it sneaky something?
When someone goes on a date just for the free meal with no real intention of pursuing anything romantic.
Like sneaky eating?
Yeah.
That's a thing? Or
Yeah.
you made that up?
No, I'll tell you when I come to
It
the
has to
things
be
that
a
I made
thing
up.
for sure.
It is
was.
a thing,
Yeah.
but I've never heard that word
I just didn't know that
used.
there was a term associated
I
with
like
it.
that word.
Fire dooring.
What?
Yeah. Fire dooring. Like fire and then a door.
And a door.
And then ing at the end of it.
I have an idea.
I don't know. Fire doors only open one way. I don't know. Is that right?
You're in the right direction.
I don't know. What is it?
Self-sabotage?
When a relationship is completely one-sided with one person putting in all the effort to keep things going.
Oh,
like a
I crushed
fire
it.
door that only opens one way, this relationship is all about them and you're stuck doing the heavy lifting.
Fantastic.
That's
So you
good.
can use that one later down the road if you need to. All right. Kangarooing, which obviously speaks so heavily to me.
I have heard this one. I'm not doing well at this game.
Yeah, you
You're
got 2
doing
out of
great.
3.
What are you talking about?
I have heard this one, and now I do not remember. But does it have to do with the pouch? Or no? I've heard
No.
this term. What is it?
Oh, yes, there is a pouch in there. Sorry.
What is it?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm giving up.
When
Is it
someone...
like carrying somebody?
No. When someone is constantly bouncing between emotionally detached and overly affectionate, leaving you confused about where you stand. One day they're distant, the next they're acting like your soulmate, keeping you in their emotional pouch without any real commitment.
Very manipulative, those kangaroos.
Incredibly. I hate to say it because they come from my home country. 2 more and then we'll get into some of the ones that I created. So pocketing. What do you think that means?
This would be, to me, that sounds similar to benching.
It is kind of similar.
Yeah.
Would you like the real definition?
I
of it?
would.
All right. When your partner never introduces you to their friends or family, essentially keeping you tucked away in their metaphorical pocket.
Yeah, I've
you're in
heard
their life,
this.
but they're hiding you from the people closest to them.
I don't like that.
No, I don't like
hate
it either.
I've been there.
You've been pocketed before?
Yeah. Not for a long
But
time.
how do you know? Like, at what point do you say, where is everybody in your life?
Do you have friends? Because I haven't met them. This was like 10 years ago now, but it was a guy where I would invite him to come out with my friends. He'd met my parents because they were in town. And he wasn't from the area, so it wasn't as weird that I hadn't met his family, because the only reason he'd met my parents is because they'd been here. But then it was like the friends thing. He would be like, oh, I'm going to a friend's birthday party. I'd be like, oh, like, am I?
Do you
no,
wanna,
I'm not going.
You wanna,
Got it. And that shit will burn you for a long time.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I still get triggered sometimes when people are like, when Skyline, for example, my boyfriend's nickname is Skyline, for those who don't know that. When he'll like go to something that I'm not going to, even if it's not something I should be going to. Like, it's like a, I don't know, boys' steak night or something.
You're like, why aren't I invited?
Yeah, am I being pocketed? I'm like,
You pocketing
no,
me?
obviously not. Obviously not.
Very fair.
I should have fucked with you for a long time.
It will. Well, I think that it leaves a scar on people for a reason, because, and then it will drag through to other relationships for sure. Cloaking.
Is that when you're like hiding something about yourself?
No.
Oh. Okay, that's all I got.
When someone not only ghosts you, but also blocks you on all platforms without warning, completely vanishing from your life as if they never existed. It's next level ghosting with a dash of witness protection program vibes.
Yeah, or like gaslighting. Where they're like, no, we weren't dating. I don't even exist.
That's
oh my
fucking
gosh.
gnarly.
See, that's
Could you
why I
imagine?
don't like when people follow each other after a first date. Because then you have to unfollow, and it's so awkward.
Obviously now my social media is public and I can't control who follows me, but I do have a regular Instagram, a personal Instagram that I had in college and whenever it came out, and I do not follow or request or accept requests from people until we're official, like in a relationship.
Smart. That's so smart.
Yeah. Especially once you get into a relationship with somebody, then you have to unwind all the past people who you were kind of talking to. And it's like, oh yeah, I have to unfollow all these people now.
Yeah, you went through that, didn't you?
It's just like a
I
lot of
did.
information also. Like I know that once I follow somebody and am in their social media, I am looking.
How can you not, though? It's like literally dangling a steak in front of a lion's mouth and
That's
like
what I'm
expecting
saying.
someone not to look.
So I just don't want to even put myself in that situation until it is
smart.
warranted.
Like, because it's awkward too. I would see someone and they'd be like, you unfollowed me. And I'm like, yes, I'm in a relationship and I love this person. So yes, I unfollowed you. And they're
I
like,
mean, I still follow most of my exes.
oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah,
Well, then-
I don't care
Well, I
about
think
that.
it depends on the relationship with the ex, and it depends if it was like a legitimate ex or if it's just like a fuck buddy or a hookup or someone who
Yeah, mine are
perhaps,
more hookups.
Yeah,
perhaps
it's
doesn't have the
different.
best
That's different.
intention for you or your new relationship,
Yeah.
which we've experienced before.
Yeah, that's very
Fucking
different.
looking at you.
That's very different. Like I'm
Yeah.
talking about like
No, legitimate
a
relationships.
very mutual breakup where we are on good terms.
Well, there's still
and,
like a lot of love and
You're still
respect
friends.
there.
Yeah, like,
Friendly.
friendly. Yeah, we're not friends, but we're friendly.
All right, these ones I made up. Okay, so what do you think a pumpkin spice match means?
Only for a season.
You're so smart. Okay, think of it.
That's an easy one.
Think of it as a pumpkin spice latte, seasonally exciting and oh so sweet, but maybe not a long-term favorite.
Yeah.
Pumpkin spice match is a dating equivalent of that seasonal sip.
Love
I
it.
thought it was pretty smart.
Did
when
you
I
love
just,
it.
was that a placement for Starbucks? Like a Starbucks pumpkin spice latte you just
No,
did
it
there?
wasn't.
That was pretty good though. You should have added Starbucks.
Starbucks. Scarecrow syndrome. What do you think that means?
The scarecrow didn't have a brain. Is
not
that
what
where
I
we're
was going off
That's
of.
not where we're going with this. Okay.
But I love
Like,
that you're
dating
so
an
factual.
idiot?
Fuck, that would have been so good. No.
I'm very literal. Scarecrow syndrome. Is that someone who's like afraid of commitment?
No, it's the dating equivalent of waving your arms in the middle of a deserted field, hoping someone will take notice. It's that infuriating feeling when you're out there, all dressed up and ready to mingle, but it seems like your potential matches are too busy to even glance your way.
I like
That's
that.
pretty good.
Thank you. I
like
thought
that.
it was pretty good.
I like that.
All right, last one, zombie date.
So I've heard the term zombieing, which is where somebody comes back
It's
from
not
the dead.
to do with that.
It's not that.
No.
Okay, a zombie date. I don't know.
Need a place to stay for the night?
No, but that would have been a good one to
heard of
create.
that.
A date so dull and lifeless, it feels like you're stuck in a never-ending loop of small talk and awkward silences. There's no chemistry, there's no excitement, just two people going through the motions like The Walking Dead.
We've all been there. Brutal.
Seriously.
Brutal.
All right, we're going to round this podcast, which has gone way too fast, with a game called I like to call Second Chances. So I've gone to Reddit or the depths of the internet to find the weirdest, most wonderful, kind of terrifying.
It's the worst website.
Thank you very much. Dating stories. And I want to see if you would give this person a second chance or if you'd sprint out of there.
Okay.
I had a
I'm
funny...
all for second chances. I just answered that question on my way here, actually, on my Instagram
Really?
story. Yeah. Somebody asked, do you believe in second chances? And I said, yes, with caveats. So let's
Well,
see.
maybe if there's some caveats in here.
Let's see.
The guy who brought his mum. I went on a date with a guy who was new to my city. He suggested we meet at a local coffee shop. I got there and he showed up with his mum. Not only that, but his mum sat with us the entire time and asked me interview-style like questions. Like, what are your intentions with my son? Do you give him a second chance or do you get the fuck out of there?
I get the fuck out of there. That's crazy.
It's wild. That's the caveat right there.
That's a premise of a dating show. Like that, there literally are shows like that.
Yeah, so true.
What?
I know.
That shows super poor judgment on his part.
I just want to show that these
These
are all
real.
from Reddit. These are all real, right? This is what's bizarre about them. The date which turned into a pyramid scheme. I met this guy on Bumble and everything was going great until he spent the entire second date trying to recruit me into his pyramid scheme. I was trapped at a restaurant for over an hour listening to him pitch his amazing business opportunity.
No. Run. Mostly just because he is in a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a good financial outlook.
So literal. Like, so much. The guy who brought a PowerPoint. One woman met a man on a dating app, and during their first date, he pulled out a laptop and proceeded to present a PowerPoint on why they would make the perfect couple, complete with charts, graphs, and a conclusion slide. He left no stone unturned. The kicker? He asked her to sign an unofficial agreement at the end of the presentation.
What was the agreement for?
I assumed to be his wife, partner, girlfriend.
Okay. Depending on how he plays this, it could be funny and cute. I'm guessing, given the agreement thing, that it was not.
It was not?
It was neither of those things. But I could see a world in which it's like stupid and funny and cute.
Yeah, I can see that too. It definitely
I
all
would do
depends.
something like that.
You would do something like that.
It doesn't sound like that's where... It doesn't sound like the vibe of this man.
I feel like it was giving more like stalker serial killer than it was like cute, funny, hilarious.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Goofy dude.
I don't think it's a silly, goofy time.
The surprise petting zoo.
Oh, no.
I once had a date where the guy said we were going to go to a surprise location. It turned out to be his house, where he had set up a makeshift petting zoo in his living room. I'm talking goats, chickens, and a couple of rabbits. When I asked him why, he said, I just wanted to impress you.
I would not have gone to his home. No, that's a no. That's so weird.
See, I would love that.
What?
Not for a first date, but like if I was a couple of days in and someone was like, I got a petting zoo back in my house, I'd be like, let's fucking go.
It's a first date.
I know,
That's
first
the
date, that's-
thing
yeah.
that I'm like, we cannot.
I know, it's hard, especially at his house. Also, if he's like, I'm taking you to a surprise location and then you end up back at his house, that's weird.
But
I
also,
wouldn't go.
how did he know that also was going to happen, that he had a petting zoo in his...
What do you mean? There was a first date. They set the first date up.
The first date was just come over to the house and there was a
No,
petting
no, no.
zoo?
He was like, obviously, I'm going to come pick you up and then we'll go somewhere. And it ended up being his house and he had an entire petting zoo set up in his home.
Yeah, no, I don't like
Wow.
that. I don't like that at all.
The spaghetti date
Are
disaster.
there any of these that aren't totally unhinged?
No,
Okay.
that's the whole point of it.
Got it.
I went on a first date with this girl to a nice Italian restaurant. Things were going well until she started eating spaghetti with her hands. No fork, no spoon, just her bare hands digging into the spaghetti and slurping up like noodles from a cartoon. I didn't say anything because I didn't know how to handle it. She finished the entire plate, then wiped her hands on the tablecloth like it was no big deal.
Oh my God. I can't even picture this happening, but I guess no.
These are easy,
That's insane.
no second
But you
chance.
never know. Some people,
You
when,
never know.
when we had Mackenzie on and we were doing something kind of similar, she was like, yeah, I'd be all right with that.
Eating
like some people,
spaghetti with your hands.
well, you kind of sit there and say it in the same way as like, is this just a goofy gal? Is she one of those people
Maybe
who like,
one scoop, I'd be like, oh, it's funny. But
there's some cultures that prefer just eating with their hands. Could be that too. Could
maybe.
be cultural.
Maybe.
Last one. The karaoke catastrophe.
I do love karaoke, so I'm excited about
All
this
right.
one.
My date suggested we go to a karaoke bar for fun, which I thought was a great idea, until he signed up to sing Bohemian Rhapsody alone and then refused to get off the stage. He sang the entire 6-minute song and it was awful. But instead of getting down, he signed up for 2 more songs and kept performing while I awkwardly sipped my drink in the corner. At one point, he dedicated Don't Stop Believing to me.
Sounds awesome.
Something very similar happened to my best friend, where she went out with a guy who turned out to be a Michael Jackson impersonator.
Oh, wow.
And while she was in the bathroom, this was like years and years ago, while she was in the bathroom, he requested Beat It from the DJ. And then as she exited the bathroom, he like signaled to the DJ and started performing his like Beat It routine as the Michael Jackson impersonator for her. So no, I would not give this person a second chance.
That was a definitely second chance for me.
I do love karaoke. The issue would be the refusing to get off the stage.
Yeah.
Like, are there other people who want to sing? Are we being inconsiderate?
Inconsiderate. That's where it comes in.
Also, like, I'm here. We're not interacting. That's a bad first date.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a first date. I
It
didn't
is.
Yeah.
I love how you're like, all of these are easy no's, and then the last one you're like, I would totally
That's
do that.
fine.
Yeah.
That last one was good. I liked it.
That's
There'll
your
always be
move?
surprises in there, darling.
If you do that to me, where you just sing up in
Don't
karaoke,
stop
I'd be like, it's a lot of confidence
If
up
you
there.
like me to dedicate that to you, I'll do it next time. All right, darling. Allie, Thank you so much for taking this beautiful hour to spend with us. It's gone by so quickly, which all the best ones always do. Can you let our listeners know where to find you?
Yes, thank you for having me. I am Finding Mr. Height on Instagram, TikTok. FindingMrHeight.com is my website. You can check out all my coaching and all that stuff.
Check out the podcast too. It's
And
really,
the dating
really
advice,
interesting.
just like,
Oh.
don't listen to us. Listen to Allie. Like, but yes, listen to us. Check out one of our past episodes and our future episodes. Subscribe. We love you. Happy dating, and we'll see you next time.